I want to get into the NBA, and I actually have a video for this one. And it's George Naing. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, George Naing was recently asked a question. It was actually a few days ago, maybe late last week sometime. He asked this question about who rubs him the wrong way in the NBA. And I thought he had a interesting answer. Give it 1 second. It should pop up now.
If this motherfucker gets going, I'm going to be in the middle of it. Is there somebody that just rubs you the
Really, it was the, and I don't want to like beat a dead horse with it because I actually feel bad at this point. The Ben Simmons thing, like that pissed me off because like, you know, guys are trying to make a living, right? And I came from Utah, like I signed like just a little over the minimum, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm a spot up shooter. This guy fucking drives the lane. Everybody collapses. He kicks out. Like, this is gonna be great for my career. Yeah. I signed a 2-year deal, like, and then he was like, I'm not playing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we have no, like, this was before Tyrese Maxey. He was like, were we going to start Shake Milton or Tyrese Maxey? So it was like, Tyrese Maxey just came off a rookie year where he, like, got spot minutes.
Right.
And Shake Milton was like, you know,
Spot
still,
minutes.
yeah, he was still.
defender. He's a defender.
Yeah, he was still fighting for, so I'm like, how the fuck am I going to make something happen? And then he was walking around the facility, you know, like, you'd be like, what's up, man? Because they're like, you know, welcome him back in, you know? And he'd be like, and that's when I was like, fuck this dude. Like,
Yeah.
if I get an opportunity to play against this dude, I'm going to be an asshole. Like, there's etiquette and the game. There's like, don't do dumb shit when you're out there. I was like, out the window. And that was the only one. Other than that, like, I think, yes, it is a business and I want to compete in between the lines, but I'm not going to, some players will cross the line of doing like dirty shit. I'm not going to cross that. I'll compete. But at that point, I was like, fuck. Like, I was.
That's basically what he said. So he basically said Ben Simmons was the one that rubbed him the wrong way with how he carried himself in the locker room. I just want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first.
I get it. I mean, he rubs me the wrong way. I mean, he just strikes me as a guy that doesn't want to play basketball. He likes the things basketball brings, but he doesn't actually like putting in the work and putting in the time to actually be a basketball player. He's one of those guys that at this point, I think you'd have to put in the stealing money category. He's making a ton of money not to do anything except sit on the bench and look nice in designer clothes. So I get it. If I was his teammate, I would probably feel the same way. I mean, this guy has been a total disaster for somebody that was supposed to be like people. There was a time when people were saying like, this guy, his game reminds us of LeBron James. And when you think about that to where he is now, I mean, complete total disaster.
Yeah. Look, you guys know how I feel about it. We probably don't went through this thing 1,001 times with Ben Simmons. And if you guys look up the previous videos on our YouTube channel, you will see me freaking out over some Ben Simmons because he has talent. He has so much talent and it makes no sense. And all he had to do was put the work in and work hard. That's all he had to do. Look, I understand sometimes your mental can take over at times, but you have to work on it. You have to believe in yourself and work on that and take the time to pay attention to your mental health as much as your physical and overall health. You know, and I'm getting ready to pause on what I got to say because I see in the comments, Mel said that back injury for Ben was real, though. No, it wasn't. It was his brain that was real. His issues was more emotional than it was physical. And I'm not trying to knock someone who has a physical injury, but let's be real. There were times where he was fine and just didn't want to play. You know, in a playoff game, he tried to lie and say he had COVID. He didn't have COVID. You just didn't want to play. It had nothing to do with a back injury or anything like that. You just felt some type of way for whatever reason because you had a spoiled mindset and you didn't want to play, but not understanding how this is going to impact your teammates. You know, they always say the NBA is more of a brotherhood. It's a fraternity. But your attitude, you don't have your brother's back. It's fine that you're injured or whatnot, fine. But you don't have to treat these guys the way you did, you know. It's not just George Naing that came out and said he was, you know, you say, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? And you just walk the other way. That's rude. Y'all supposed to be brothers. Like, come on now. You know, that like they came to come play with you. You know, they wanted that experience of wow, you know, Ben Simmons can handle the rock. His basketball IQ is very high. He's going to get you the ball. And all I got to do is sit back and shoot. They were looking to you to make their lives a little bit easier and come to support you as well. But at the end of the day, you just turned their backs on him. So, but that's because of his own selfishness and his immaturity. Now, I'm hoping at this particular age, and the fact that his next contract is not going to be anywhere near what his previous contract was. I hope that he learned his lesson. But for right now, all we get is these amazing highlights of summer league play or basketball practice. And I'm gonna shoot all day long in practice, but I'll never shoot in a game. Sorry, I'm reverting back, guys. His name just brings some crazy memories for me. So I think for him, it's more of he has to grow up. And the question is, did you grow up? That's going to be a big question we're going to have to answer. Nobody wants him right now. I think the Nets were trying to trade him. Nobody wants him or that contract. They look at him right now as a cancer to your locker room. Injuries, I don't think injuries create an issue for anybody. I think most teams and most teammates understand injuries. It's your attitude that creates the issue. And he has some major attitude issues. And he needs to adjust that quick. But who do I have go first? K-Walk, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe we're still talking about this guy first and foremost, but nonetheless, when you talk about this guy and just like everything you mentioned, Britt, and everything that was just said about him, like, you can't walk by him and him not saying what's up to you. Like, he's, the top echelon of the league. Like he's an MVP candidate or somebody like that. But you haven't played in like a year and a half, 2 years, for the most part. And Britt, you mentioned something, you said something that kind of like, really, are we going to see this next contract? I don't see a next contract coming for Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. I don't know who in their right mind would give him another contract, to be honest with you. If I were the Nets, I would just be like, listen, let's just do away with this guy. We'll just eat the money, because that's basically what they're doing anyway. That's what they're doing anyway. They're just bringing him in there, and he's sitting on the bench and doing whatever, whatever he wants to do and not playing. Now it went from a back injury to COVID to mental, and he, I don't want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, without sounding wrong. I hope he didn't, just put it this way. I hope he didn't use the mental reason, work on his mental issues, to get a pass on people talking down on him, because we know how sensitive that topic can be. So I hope he wasn't playing us in that sense where, okay, I'll use the mental aspect of it. I'm working on my mental, my mental status, so people leave me alone, because that's a sensitive topic in today's world right now. Hope he didn't do that, but I wouldn't put it past him either. So with that being said, yeah, I just don't think, I mean, if the Nets want to continue to pay this guy and to do nothing, even when he's on his game, I mean, he's not really giving you that much, especially from an offensive standpoint. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he'll give you he may be close to a triple double if you're lucky, but he's not. He can't shoot a jumper, can't make a free throw. I mean, he's when he wants to play, he's an okay defender. He's an okay rebounder, and he can facilitate, if he really wants to. But overall, he's not giving you too much. So I don't understand why we're, they're even, thinking about keeping this guy. And I don't understand why we're talking about this guy either, but that's just me.
Yeah. I had to bring it up because it was really, out of all the players that could have rubbed anybody wrong, all the players that could rub you the wrong way. And, you have players in the NBA that purposely get under your skin. Patrick Beverly is a prime example. He will get under your skin on the court.
I see what you're saying. I see how you're comparing. Okay.
And there's other players that will purposely get under your skin on a basketball court. Maybe even talk about you in the podcast. But he talked about the one guy who's trying to hide right now.
That's irritating.
And George Naing, he's a competitor. I'm not saying he's the best player on the planet, but he's just a competitor. When you see him, he's talking trash in your face. He'll get up in your face. And I think he has an awkward shape to him. I always said that, but that's my guy.
I thought he was he looked like
got a bad body for sure. Yeah, he's
like
I love George Naing. That's why they always say "bang bang Niang" or whatever. That might have been a pause moment, but you know what I mean. That was his thing when he knocked down his three. So I love him. I love when he comes to play. He plays his hardest. And for him to point out Ben Simmons, I really thought that was something major, because it's telling me it's more than just an injury. Yeah, he may have had an actual back injury, and that's understandable. And a lot of these guys have been injured, and they will understand that. But it says another thing where they're coming to you, and they haven't probably talked to you in forever. Your name is not mentioned anywhere on any platform,
Right.
ESPN, it doesn't matter. And he sits in the interview. He said the one guy that rubbed me the wrong way, and he picks your name. That means it's more than just an injury. It's because you have a bad attitude, and you didn't come with a brotherhood type of mentality where all these guys are competitors. But when you're off the court, they're talking to each other. They probably hang out with each other outside in the off season. You're basically over here all alone. Remember, his mentor was supposed to be LeBron James. We don't hear or see any of that relationship at all. We see it with LeBron and Maxey. We see it with LeBron and all these other young players. But it's just like that relationship kind of felt like it kind of dwindled off a little bit. And maybe they still talk in the background. I'm just, I don't know for sure. But that I just thought that was very, very interesting. But for me, it takes nothing to work on your game. That's what you're getting paid for. It takes nothing to work on your game. The whole goal is to win a championship. At least that's what we hope your mindset is when you come into the NBA. And maybe that's not where his mindset is. But George Naing, he's probably just one of the first players to actually say it. But there's a reason why Jimmy Butler decided to go to Miami instead of stay with the Sixers. And it just wasn't because of the head coach. I think he also said, I don't like Ben Simmons and I don't like his work ethic. The kid doesn't work at all. To be so talented and to be looked upon as he's the next LeBron or whatever it may be, he doesn't like to work on his game. To me, that's a major problem for me as well. Yeah. Any final thoughts on the Ben Simmons era? We're going to try to put this to rest.
No, I think, Britt, the only thing is like, because we've always heard about Ben Simmons that he has a lot of yes men around him. Like he doesn't have anybody around him that's willing to tell him the truth. So I think that right there is a sign of lack of maturity. And then also players know, like when players start talking about you like that, it's got to be really bad. Because for the most part, I think they players will try their best not to air that kind of stuff out publicly. So if somebody's going to air you out that way, I think it's got to be really, really bad.
Yeah, and if you look at the beginning of the interview, he was like, I don't really want to get into it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
But Richard Jefferson has a way of pushing you a little bit. And he said, if I had to choose one person, it would be Ben Simmons. And I don't want to hear, and I'm going to bring this up. I'm tired of hearing about teammates throwing this kid under the bus. Ain't nobody throwing him under the bus. When leaders in the NFL talk about a player's not stepping up, we just say he's being a leader. When they did it in that particular press conference, watch that press conference from beginning to end. That particular person, Joel Embiid, said, I need to take accountability. And he said, I do think this was a big moment in the game, which was Ben Simmons deciding to pass the ball to a lesser player versus just going up and slamming it on Trae Young's head. But that just shows you right there the type of player that he was. He was not ready for those moments. Dak Prescott part 2. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw him in here. He was an innocent bystander. Yeah, I always got to attack the Cowboys. I always got to attack the Cowboys. But no. Any final thoughts on any of the topics that we talked about?
I think Ben got enough airtime for my
seriously, for real.
All right. No, we definitely going to be talking about him more because he is with the Nets, which is my rival, or one of my rivals, I guess you could say. Not a real rival, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see if they buy him out, or like you said, K-Rock, they just have him pay him for the rest of the year, and then he'll be a free agent starting next year. But no, that contract, I think that's it.